Well, we made sure we got live today right at 4 o'clock, or it's just a couple seconds afterwards. But thank you once again for always joining us here at the DPB show, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We are going to continue to do this, and I obviously it's going to change, especially when we are counting down the days until early voting starts here in Illinois and many other places across the nation. Every state is different. I encourage you to go out and figure out how many days prior to Election Day, which is November 5th, Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month in November, how far out you can vote early. And I encourage you, vote early. If you can't vote early in person, um, definitely get a vote by mail ballot. If you can't get a vote by mail ballot, then Election Day is the final opportunity to cast your vote. Um, we're going to be here covering the content, covering the material, the best we can here in Central Illinois. As the title of the show says, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Folks, if you're tuning into the DPB show today, there's no question about it in my mind that most of you are your friends. You're not foes. And not only are you friends, but you're like-minded. And we tend to get so consumed about the people that we are closest to, and we believe that everybody thinks and behaves like we do, even if they're not openly discussing politics or life or all the things that confront us in any given day. And uh, that's what we're going to hit upon today because, it's going to take, there's Sarah. Hey, Sarah, thanks for tuning in here early. That's what it's going to take. Come November, actually, come early voting, which starts at the end of September in Illinois, and I'm specifically in Central Illinois. And this is going to be most of the topic today. We have a responsibility not to depend upon others to actively know what they need to be doing. This is part of that fortify and mobilizing. We all know that you should vote and how important the election is. Unfortunately, many people don't. In fact, some people are kind of what's the deer in the headlights? They're frozen. They're fearful because they are entrenched in this system because the way that the fabric of today's culture works, everything is controlled by the government. Everything. And we're going to share a little bit from Matt Gaetz and his interview on Capitol Hill with an investment broker and managing fund, I should say. He manages a fund for a whole plethora of people and how much they have under management. But his answers to Gates's questions are just mind-boggling, and it's all part of what we see out there in today's modern culture because people are basically going along with the lies. They know, our government lies, and they know that they lie, and they know that we know that they lie, but they continue to do it anyway. And it's what we are up against. It's the biggest challenge that we're going to face. Just another reminder, hey, the last show, signs everywhere, sign. Please, whatever you do, get in contact with me. We are taking donations for Trump yard signs, 4x4s and 4x8s. The donation we're requesting is $10 for the yard sign, $75 for a 4x4, $100 for a 4x8. We are going to literally turn Central Illinois for Trump. And it is so important that we get the message out there and let people know where we stand. That's about all I've got today. I know, like I said the other day, if you were with us, we were a little fiery. Had a great monologue, but it just never got out to the airways. And in fact, it's Donovan says hello. Sarah, thank you. Tell Donovan I said hello. It didn't get out to the airways because I didn't hit the live button. But today I have no other than my good friend and colleague, and obviously the guy that rides in the other side of the screen. That'd be Ryan of the
Howdy.
Ryan Show.
It's good stuff. Along the way, producing our own content, we're gonna have some blips. So if
Yep.
you can't laugh about it, then you're not doing it right.
Well, we had a good time laughing about it. As you can see, I just caught this in the screen, and I am going to work on looking at this camera. I have my Desi Anderson shirt on today. Desi Anderson for state rep. She is running for state rep in the 91st district, which basically is the district I live, Normal, Bloomington. Then it kind of cuts over across Interstate 74 through Tazewell, Woodford, Tazewell County. It's a state rep seat that currently is occupied by a gal named Sharon Chung. This gal is a self-proclaimed fascist, Marxist, socialist, communist.
Did she write that letter yet to the oil companies?
Yeah, she said that. Yeah, tell them about that,
Write a
Ryan.
letter.
Yeah, she was going to put out a letter to all the oil companies because she didn't realize she's running for state rep, not federal. She wasn't Congress, but yeah. So no, I mean this she's not good for Illinois. She's not good for Central Illinois. She's not good for the American way. I mean, she's not fully entrenched in our country and what it stands for. And she's, look her up. I'm not going to give too much more information about her, but needless to say, she won the office of state rep in the 91st district by 1,700 votes over Scott Preston. 1,700 votes. That's what separated them. So getting back to the title of the show, Our Lives, Our Fortunes, Our Sacred Honor, if it's going to be, it's up to us. We are going to have, now, I understand that all of you are going to go vote. That's just goes with the territory.
Yep.
You're going to go vote. Unfortunately, not everyone is. And because they're not aware of what is transpiring, or they're mesmerized, or they're hypnotized, or they believe that things aren't as bad as they are. And it's up to us to carry the torch, to inform them that these folks want something other than the American way. They truly aspire that. And Desi obviously has put herself out there, is running for office in the 91st, and she will definitely, she's doing the work. She's doing the job of state rep for the 91st district right now by just going door to door and asking people about the issues, asking them what concerns them the most. And of course, the top answer is the economy.
Yeah.
People can't
all the
afford
answers
to
that
live.
I got when I walked yesterday was the economy. A couple of individuals just had, so we had a recent string of mini break-ins on the north end of Gridley. Believe it or not, in a small town, crime can still happen. And it was about 2:00 in the morning, and a few individuals got dropped off in town and started rummaging through driveways, and they just happened to luck out on somebody who had their keys in their car still, and they took off with their vehicle. Now, they reported to authorities, and 2 days later, they were discovered that the vehicle was found in West Peoria. So when I came to their house and I was talking to them, and I said, "So now that you got your vehicle back, what would be the thing that concerns you the most coming up the next election?" And she jokingly said crime, but she wasn't, in a small town, you never want to see that as an issue. But everything
Crime in Gridley
for conservative values is what they both said, but crime would be number one, no matter what. I mean, it was obviously mistaken on their part, leaving their keys unlocked, but in a very small town where nothing ever happens, people are used to not, locking their vehicles. They just don't think that's going to happen. It's in a nicer, not that there's not a nicer area of town, but it's in a subdivision area, and you wouldn't think that they would have to lock up everything. But here we are, 2024 in a small town. It's coming to a small town. They're coming down from up north, and they're hitting small towns thinking people are lax.
They are trying that in a small town, and unfortunately, the song obviously says it all. Try that in a small town. Bottom line is they are trying it in a small town. There is no place, and they have witnessed this now, that there is going to be no consequences for their actions. The Safety Act here in Illinois, which is one of the most egregious pieces of legislation ever put forth and signed into law by Governor Pritzker, basically deems open season for criminals here in the state of Illinois.
Yep.
Chances of getting somebody picked up actually and charged with an offense in
Yeah.
Illinois is slim and none. And that's kind of unfortunately what we are going to have to deal with here in Illinois for at least a few more years. But it seems to be like everything; it seems to be falling in on itself.
Yeah.
These folks, they think that idealistically they can put out bills and laws that they believe are feel good. Unfortunately, criminals don't play by your rules
Yeah. No.
ever.
Name me a law
And
that a criminal has abided by
yeah,
ever in the history of crime.
yeah, no, no. Well, speaking of that, obviously, we talk about the attorney general. We talk about the crimes on a federal level. I mean,
Yep.
crime is all throughout our society right now. That's why it is important to realize to lean in to your faith, obviously, to be strong, to be bold, to be courageous. This is what it's going to take to get the word out. This is what it's going to take to live out our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. When I say pledging that, that's what the founding fathers did.
Yeah.
They pledged all of those things. Most of them were basically not martyred. I mean,
Yeah.
the equivalent of being martyred. Most of them lost their lives. The 52 founders of our country, they paid the ultimate price. No different than our men and women who gave it all in defense of our country, especially
Mhm.
with D-Day happening last week. I
Yeah.
mean, that first wave that hit the beaches, Omaha Beach. I mean, those guys knew it. It was the meat squad, right? I
Yeah.
mean, literally, they were human targets
Yep.
walking in to just a blitzkrieg of fire from the Germans.
Yeah.
And I can't even begin to imagine the death and the carnage that took place on the beaches there. And what for? It's for the defense of not only our country, but defense of our world.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if Hitler had his way, we probably right now would be, well,
Probably a good
probably
thing.
right now. No, it just took a while for the manifestation of Marxism, socialism,
Yeah.
communism to come to the
Well, and
shores of
you
America.
look at the contrast between generations. Look at 17, 18-year-olds back then who stormed those beaches, and look at the 17, 18-year-olds here today. What are the differences? They were real young men, brave men going into battle to save freedom. And you have 17, 18-year-olds today looking at TikTok videos and making fun of themselves and afraid of peanut butter. That's where we're at as a society. We're afraid of working, and we're afraid of hard work and honor and what it means to be free. Nobody wants to fight for that freedom anymore. That's where we're at.
I have no idea how I got to a full screen. I mean, literally I'm not touching any buttons here, Ryan.
Wow. No,
But
no
I hit a
buttons, man.
button and the next thing I know, you were bigger. You were my entire screen.
Larger than life.
Well, you were larger in life. All I was trying to do is pull up Facebook because I've got so many tabs
Maybe we
open.
should
Right?
have Tanya come in and do your producing.
She is. She's going to do that next week.
Right.
She agreed to do that, so
Pay her
she's going
good
to come
bonus.
in. She's going to come in and help to make sure, at the very least, that I push the go live button. But some other things that she's probably going to be able to do is where I'm going to have I wanted to get that screen pulled up with Facebook. And the reason I'm using Facebook is because I have multiple platforms here at the DPB show: Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter. And right now I have Twitter, Truth Social. I'm not on Truth Social yet, but then again, they don't allow streaming on Truth Social yet. I'm sure that's
Yeah.
coming. Rumble obviously is
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
But I wanted to pull up Dan Bongino. Obviously received a letter from one of his listeners, and this particular listener was trying to encourage Dan to not use colorful language. Dan, being a New Yorker, uses the F word as a conjunction sometimes. Where you and I use and, but, or Dan has a tendency. But the thing that was interesting is she was calling into calling him out for not necessarily being a Christian. And I found Dan's answer really profound.
Mhm.
That he says, I don't proclaim to be a Christian.
Yeah.
I am a Christian.
Right.
And I'm also a sinner because that's what Christians are.
Yeah.
People following Christ have acknowledged that they need Jesus. And the reason they need Jesus is because they're flawed. They've come to a conclusion. We hope that's what Christians do. They come to the conclusion that they need a savior. I mean, and sometimes, like Dan said, that's moment by moment, day by day.
Yeah.
And I think that is so true.
Yeah.
And so you kind of know where I'm going with this, Ryan. Right?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So Dan has put out a video dealing with these 50 plus intel characters that promoted that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. And when I talk about pledging your life, your fortune, your sacred honor, Dan Bongino, just like DC Drano and a few others, they are now on a NGO, a non-governmental organization page, or they put out a letter, I should say, of people who are on their do not fly list. Basically, they're calling them out saying these people are dangerous.
Mhm.
Dan Bongino is one of them.
Yep.
But obviously that's not going to stop Dan. So
No.
with no further ado, I want to get this up and playing. This does last a little longer. And you know me, I know it's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to need to play a minute section of this. No, I think it's worth the entire play. It's about 3 minutes, and I want to get it out there for you guys.
Folks, they always accuse you of what they're doing. And because they're terrified that their tyranny is not going to continue if Donald Trump wins, they're now doing this simple distraction technique that has appealed to useful idiots for a long time and been used by commies, socialists, Soviets. They've used it forever. They just blame you for exactly what they're doing.
Politico recently spoke with former intelligence officials about how on edge the idea of a second Trump term makes all of them.
Are you freaking kidding me? Are these the same 51 intelligence officers who falsely bullshitted America? These scumbags, every single one of them. You hear me? Absolute scumbags. You don't like the word? Too bad. That's what you are. A bunch of scumbag fuckwads. Fuck you guys.
I did find a mute.
51 of you pieces of shit who told America before an election.
50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan.
Oh, okay.
During the campaign season, you want to be able to understand everything that the Russians might do.
This laptop that would have changed the entire course of American history, would have kept the border closed if Trump got reelected, probably wouldn't be a Russian invasion of Ukraine, probably wouldn't have been an October 7th attack either. We'd be living in a different world right now because you 51 intelligent scumbags, knowing you were full of shit the whole time, now you dare, you've got the balls to say that Trump could weaponize the spy services? I'm demanding an investigation if Trump wins into all of these people for a conspiracy to interfere in an election and potentially worse. And Joe Biden is going to be the first target of that investigation. You will never, ever teach these people that deep state lawfare is wrong without exposing them to the same sets of rules they want to impose on us. Someone did steal an election, and Joe Biden was a field general in that war on election integrity. Listen to me. I want an investigation into this conspiracy to steal the 2020 election, and no, we shouldn't let it go. I don't want to hear shit about, oh, it's time to move on. It's not time to move on, or they'll do it again.
It's terrifying. It's frightening.
They stole this damn thing. They hid that laptop information. You know it. We know it. I want everyone as either, they better give depositions, and if they committed criminal activity, I want them charged too. The deep state is real. It's members of the media. It's intelligence community members. Here's the key, active and retired. It's bureaucrats within the government.
Mr. Vindman, you testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
you testified in the deposition that you did not know who the whistleblower was.
Per the advice of my counsel, I've been advised not to answer specific questions about members of the intelligence community.
It is saboteurs inside the Trump administration last time. The deep state is real. The deep state is real.
Tell me, are you worried about this retribution concept playing out?
What a bunch of snakes.
Well, and so that's kind of, the way I see this playing itself out. I do remember that Major Colonel Vindman did correct Devin Nunes during his questioning.
Remember these names of these individuals.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah. Well, he wanted to make sure that he addressed him as something that he really has disgraced the uniform of a military officer, because how many of these people, and they understand it, they know, all of them, they sold their souls
Mhm.
to what I believe are demons.
Yeah.
And they've sold their souls and they can't come back, and they know that a Trump presidency, Trump 47, means they are going to be unfortunately, like the hostages being held, the J6 hostages being held in prison right now. They know that they're going to be incarcerated. The difference being they committed real crimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Real
Real crimes have occurred, and we're not going to investigate people in search, or we're not going to investigate people in search of a crime. We're going to investigate crimes in search of people. That's how you do it. We know real crimes have been committed against these people, and I will hold them accountable. I will continue to call them out on every show that I have. You cannot let these people get away with this. And if you have a large enough platform, hold your congressman accountable. Hold everybody accountable to hold them accountable.
No.
You have to hold their feet.
Well,
everybody goes to prison for what they did. No more cutesy time. It's over.
No hands off.
Heads need to roll for them to change.
That's right. No ands,
That's where
buts,
we're at.
ors, or in
They're going to
Bongino's
call you
case,
hypocritical. They're
that's
going
right.
to call you everything under the sun, that it's a political attack. We're over it. It's on deaf ears. Heads need to roll. People need to go in prison.
Scumbags. That's what Bongino calls them.
They are.
And once again, what a
51
what a
liars.
great cut of someone that's passionate about getting to the bottom of this. I know that a lot of people say, I don't want to hear that. No different. This is the first time I've heard Bongino speak out openly about the election. I think more people
absolutely.
realize, folks, yes, we need to fix 2020, but we can't stop to fix 2020. We need to be fixing 2020 for 2024. I mean, we've got to do it on the fly, because there's going to be an election coming in the next 100+ days where people are going to start appearing at their precincts and voting for the president on down ballot, even to Desi Anderson. And ultimately, they have shown through the full court press of all the things they have done for election interference, and people are starting to realize the magnitude. It wasn't just vote by mail ballots. It wasn't drop boxes. It wasn't the machines. Now, I'm not saying that it wasn't. It's all of the above.
Bigger than that.
No, it was a concerted effort of delegitimizing everything. Why is it that, and you've heard me say this over and over again, why is it they ended up with 81 million votes for Joe Biden? Why is it J.B. Pritzker ended up with 800,000 more votes than Pat Quinn going from 2014 to 2018? Because they have figured out a way to basically run the table.
Yeah.
And when they get caught, they just deny. As Bongino said, they're going to continue to accuse us of doing what they've been doing for a long time. And they know that their time is short. because the American people, which I hopefully believe, once again, why is it that Republicans don't turn out in the percentages? I know Darren Bailey talks about this
Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
Is that Republicans, if Republicans just showed up at the ballot box, all registered Republicans in the state of Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
then we would win races.
Yeah.
We would win races if everybody showed up. Now, I don't believe the reports of how many registered Republicans are versus registered Democrats, because we don't register for a party.
Right.
They're just pulling numbers out of their hat.
Yeah.
And when you see the numbers, it's like, well,
Oh, I think you froze up there. And he's gone. DPB, check your camera. So he's on a roll there, clearly. But when they have a steamrolled account of ballots that they need, votes that they need, they can run down from the top of the ballot to the bottom of the ballot and look down and figure out how many they can secure. When you look at what happened with not just the ballot box, but everything that led up to that point, if they can figure out a way to take, I don't know, 300,000 votes and double that by the time they get their numbers in, they'll find a way. It's not about the machines. It's not about the ballots. It's about their plan behind the message. It's their message. That's who they are. They cannot wait, and we cannot let them come behind and take the election again. And I think that's what he was alluding to, that we have to flood the system with as many votes as we can to overcome their fraudulent attack. They are going to try every which way to take this election, and they will. They will do everything they can. And when we do the grassroots movement of getting people to answer what's most important to them, what's most important to them, what's most important to you and I? Economy, crime, safety, education. That's what are more important. So why wouldn't that be able to drive you to the voters box? Well, I asked so many people yesterday, what drives you to the ballot box? And I said, well, some of them beat around, some of them were point blank. I can't afford to live the way I'm going now. But is it bad enough yet? I've asked this a lot before. How bad does it have to get for you to change your mind about who you're voting for? The whole get along thing, just to do away, and if it's not happening to you, I'm not going to be any part of it. Where is that going? Hey, there he is.
So you were still on?
Yeah.
I mean, this was giving me all these warnings about
You froze up.
StreamYard. Yeah. Oh, you can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so it gave me all these warnings. It was like, and I've been watching the counter, which is interesting, Ryan.
It's still counting.
Well, it is counting, but it's giving me. Well, I'm watching the live counter, but
You were going down a path that they were going to deem you dangerous, so they had to cut your feed. So I kind of picked up where you were headed a little bit and took it a different way. But I think the Russians were going to cut your feed off. They can't have you talking about election insecurity.
Well, that's right. So something has happened there. I have no idea. And it was on our end, but yet you stayed on the stream, which was really cool. So I'm thankful because all I had to do was reboot and go out. And I thought it would be you would come back on and we were just in the dead space, which is probably pretty cool for having the connectivity on StreamYard that allows you to continue to pick up. I know that many times I get frustrated with some of the podcasters I listen to. Namely, my favorite, Dan Bongino. My favorite's Rush Limbaugh, but like Dan said the other day, I wish I was listening to Rush right now, especially with this election in front of us. I wish El Rushbo were here to break this down.
What he'd be saying right now.
I can't even begin. And all we can do is channel what is happening through other people. Next man up. I heard that the other day, next man up from Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
And it was classic because our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor. Sarah Froberg, economic issues, safety, my children, illegals getting free healthcare, which
Yeah.
infuriates me for personal reasons. Thank you, Sarah.
It doesn't have to be 10 reasons. It doesn't have to be 50 reasons. Find the one reason that pisses you off and vote, and take 10 friends, 20 friends with you to vote and tell them how important this is. There may be no more elections after this one.
Well,
We
no
don't-
matter if the door gets shut in your face, folks,
Yeah.
as I was saying, and I was kind of going down this path, people like Steve Bannon, he's going to be in jail.
Yeah.
Therefore, War Room will not be aired. However,
4 months.
he believes that he has left behind people who are capable of
Yep.
doing what he was doing. And I firmly believe that's a big part of why Ryan's with me, Kat, Kevin Ferris, Ty Smith, is having people in the wings, next man up.
Yeah.
Because you never know as when the stream's going to go down. And Ryan was able to pick it up midstream, no pun intended. Yes, pun intended. He was able to pick it up and continue the conversation. And this is
Yeah.
what we need to be doing and encouraging everyone we know. Just ask them, hey, what troubles you about today?
Yeah.
Today's world. What is it that, we're in an election year. Are you going to go and vote?
Yeah,
Are you
and
registered to
and
vote?
it wasn't even, I didn't even bring up I obviously identified as, for the local party, but I didn't even make it about a left or right issue. I just said, what is making you freaked out
No.
that you need to vote? That's
You
most
don't-
important. You don't even, I don't care if I want you to, because that's the side that generally leads to better opportunities. But what makes you so mad at things happening right now that will lead you to vote a different way?
Whether you're
Because
libertarian,
who's in
Democrat,
charge right
Republican,
now is who wants to win again and continue this path towards destruction. If you don't like it, then vote the other people in.
every person out there, whether you identify as a Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, Green Party, should be at least unified in the fact that we can't continue to go down this path and expect it to be a good result with the amount of debt we're carrying, with the amount of exposure we have to the world economy. We are ripe for basically being in a recession. And if we hit a recession, which could happen before the November 5th election, people's lives are going to be impacted. You think people's lives are impacted at the southern border right now, the open border? They're going to be impacted. You think prisons? Isn't it interesting the people they're imprisoning right now, the political prisoners?
Yeah.
The people they want to put in, like Navarro, Peter.
Peter Navarro. Yep.
Navarro. I said Navarro. I got it out there. Steve Bannon. These are men who have pled their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And because they know what's at stake, everything that we truly hold near and dear. And this gets back to my point of who is really pulling the levers. As Dan said, we know the deep state. And we're not going to have a discussion about whether a deep state exists or not. We know the deep state does. But this piece from Matt Gaetz on the House floor,
this
it was
all you need to know.
impactful. And it's a little longer too. And I'm going to play this out because you've got to hear what is said during this.
So he was grilling an investment manager firm on DEI practices, and he makes them eat his own words. In the study they did, he didn't even know they did.
Here it goes. I'm going to go to full screen for it.
How much do you invest each year on behalf of how many of your members?
We manage a $500 billion portfolio on behalf of 2.2 million members and beneficiaries.
1.2
You've highlighted
million
your
members.
principal responsibility is return for those beneficiaries, right?
Correct. Everything that we do every day is about generating returns to pay benefits.
And you've
over
worked there
generations.
20 years. You've been the principal deputy since 2020, right?
I was named the Deputy Chief Investment Officer in August of 2020, or I'm sorry, in April of 2020.
Okay, great. And so I think there's some parallels between what's going on with ESG and DEI. You don't deny that CalPERS has a DEI agenda, right?
CalPERS is all about generating returns to pay benefits, and every topic that we approach is through that lens.
Well, does DEI improve the returns to your investors?
I think part of good governance of a company is having diverse perspectives brought to bear as they manage that company. And I feel strongly about that for the investment team that I lead. Also, we want diverse perspectives.
And what is the evidence that you rely on for the belief that the DEI agenda will produce better returns? Is there any study, report, analysis?
You know, as an investor, I read research reports constantly. I probably read 5, 6, 8 of them a day. So over the course of my career, that's probably been thousands.
I know. I'm just wondering, is there one that kind of sticks out in your mind? You can say, Congressman, I'm here to do good by these 2.2 million beneficiaries, and my embrace of DEI, this is what I can point to as the evidence that's helping them.
Every data-based study can tell lots of different things, and every data
answer the question
that way. That's the way investing works. And remember that when we're focused on investing, we're focused on how we.
Mr. Bienvenu, you can either cite a study or you can't. You can't, right?
You can't cite
the thousands of studies that I
just name one. Okay, well, here's what I found a study that actually CalPERS did. You guys did this study. It's entitled Emerging Diverse Manager Data Report. And I'm citing from let's see. I'm citing from the 6th page of report where it says, since inception, current diverse managers generally underperformed non-diverse managers in the asset class in the policy benchmark. Are you familiar with this report?
Can I see a copy of that study, please?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the Emerging Diverse Manager Report published by CalPERS.
Without objection.
I'm not able to show it to you now, but you don't have any basis to disagree with the agency you've been a part of leading, saying that the DEI hires aren't doing as well as the non-DEI hires.
As I say, when we think about diversity, we think about diverse perspectives being brought to bear on investment decisions.
Right, but okay, so those are two different things, Mr. Bienvenu, because on one hand, there's provide returns for my investors. And what your own data says is that your DEI hires underperform there. And then on the other hand, you say, well, these diverse perspectives are really important. But I worry about the market manipulation and the bullying, because as I review what CalPERS has put out under its own investment guidelines, you brag about the fact that you voted against 768 directors at the companies you invest in most recently. And then in the prior year, you'd only voted against 133 directors. So is CalPERS voting against people as directors for companies based on their skin color?
We take up every vote independently based on the merits of the vote itself.
Right, but do you ever consider like someone's skin color?
I'm sure you do.
Because it's pretty immutable. People don't choose to be white or black
merits
or Asian.
of the vote, not the merits of the people.
We choose based on what will make the best oversight.
You're under oath here, Mr. Bienvenu.
You're losing
Can you
money
deny under oath
because of DEI
that CalPERS is voting against directors based on the color of their skin?
Shocker.
I can tell you we make every vote based on what will make that the best board for oversight of that company.
Right, but the best board is actually not doing so well. So, Mr. Chairman, let's look at the scorecard. In the state of Florida, where we aren't pushing ESG and DEI, the Florida retirement system is netting a 7.5% notch for the fiscal year. May I enter that into the record?
Objection.
And CalPERS reports only 5.8% for 2022 to 2023. Can I enter that into the record as well?
Without objection.
So you're not performing as well. Your own data says that your DEI hires aren't performing as well.
Sucks.
You were there for 20 years.
Your
and
own
you applied
data.
twice for the chief investment position, and you were passed over for that position twice, and you said you weren't going to apply for it the third time because you'd been passed over twice, and I guess they've hired an immigrant to do that job instead. Do you think that maybe you were passed over for some of these DEI reasons?
CalPERS hiring decisions is their own hiring decisions, and I'm not really a part of that candidate.
Clearly you aren't, and I think we all know why.
Clearly you aren't, and we all know why.
Why is it always well-to-do off-white men telling their companies and their boards that we need to hire more people by their skin colors. It's always rich old white men liberals that need to tell you and I that we're too white and that we need to hire more black and brown people.
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit, Ryan, because I'm going to challenge you.
Mhm.
I don't know if these men are liberals, and this gets to my point.
Mhm.
Matt Gaetz is on to something. And, you know, I love Mr. Robinson from the governor candidate of North Carolina.
Mhm.
DEI should stand for discipline, excellence, and intelligence,
Yeah.
which obviously was lacking here because all this was
Really?
smoke, 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 smoke. The reason I say I don't believe this Mr. Benevue or whatever his name is a liberal is I don't believe that it's necessarily a liberal issue, like you said. I don't think
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
Democrat versus Republican.
Mhm.
I think this man is so entrenched in the system
Mhm.
that Mr. Benevue is not going to pledge his life, his fortune, or his sacred honor.
Mhm.
Mr. Benevue is going to walk out his life no matter what happens to anybody. He believes he has enough money
Yeah.
that no matter how bad things get in this country, he can stay above all of it because
Yeah.
he can afford gas. He can
Yep.
afford
And that's
the
their argument.
cost of living. It might it probably means very little to him.
Oh,
He probably
absolutely.
has so much money that
Yeah.
the economy would have to be so bad. And I'm certain he probably has satellite phones. He has a safe house. He
Mhm.
probably has storage food.
Oh, yeah, he'll
No
never
different
Yeah.
than Mark Zuckerberg. He's
Mhm.
built a bomb shelter. He
Yep.
has everything in store. Um, they're scumbags. Dan
Yeah.
Bongino is right.
Yeah.
These people are evil. They are evil. They know what they're doing to the masses. They don't think about we the people.
Yeah.
And constitutionally, we know as the grassroots, I mean, we're seeing it played out
Yeah.
continually in the Illinois Republican Party.
Right.
And they got caught. Mark Shaw got caught red-handed holding up a delegate badge on the state
He was
floor
nuts.
at the state convention on the floor, voting for himself as
Yeah.
a delegate when he was not even a delegate.
Yep.
And of course, his rationale sounds similar to a lot of these people that go before these congressional hearings. You know what his rationale was, Ryan?
What's that?
I thought I was a delegate. Is it that
Oh,
easy?
I identify as a delegate, therefore I am.
I thought I was a delegate. I mean, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I thought I was a delegate.
You identify
know?
as a Trump delegate, don't you? That's why you're going up to the RNC.
Well, and needless to say, this kind of corruption is systemic. This is why I came out on my radio show over the past 3 years and talked about the brokenness of Illinois, the brokenness of our federal government, the brokenness of our municipalities, our county government, because it is corruption on
Yeah.
steroids. And it's so interwoven. They even came up with the term legal corruption, an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Legal corruption.
Why do Democrats and more importantly, the progressive wing of the party, more importantly, but why do they hate the conservative faction of the Republican Party so much? Because true conservative values entrench themselves in the Constitution and our founding of our country. There's nothing more horrid to the hearts of progressives when they hear the word Constitution. They hate what this country stands for. They think they're oppressed. They think that the country owes them something that it never did to them. This party and the Democrat Party has taken on the ideology of the extreme far left, this progressive eugenics, LGBTQ, and love is love party movement. They think that
God
we
is
are the
love.
threat to democracy.
Yeah. God is
The
love.
originalists, the
I love
Supreme
when
Court
people say
justices
love is love.
that are
God is
originalists, the constitutionalists, read the Constitution as it and interpret it as it's written, not as it applies to you, as you think it applies to you. I don't agree with everything the Supreme Court has done and handed down, but I want them to read the Constitution and follow the cases per the facts of the law as written. That's what I want. That's what
That
it
is
should
what
be.
they're supposed to do. Oh, there's somebody I know came into the chat real quick. Everyone should
Yes.
serve on a mission trip to a third world country. That's my
Absolutely.
beautiful wife. That says it all. You're right, because if you were to go and see for yourself on the
Mhm.
ground how people live outside the United States of America, you would come back, and I can tell you my own experiences, literally like out of body experiences,
Yeah,
riding
it
my
should
bike.
humble everybody.
Oh, riding my bike on the Constitution Trail as the sun shines flickering through the leaves. And
Mhm.
it literally, you don't realize that this is the land. This is a shining light on the hill. There's a
Mhm.
reason why millions and millions and millions of people will sacrifice their lives,
Yeah.
their fortunes,
Mhm.
and their sacred honor to come to this country. You talk about people who are willing to put it on the line. That's illegal immigrants. Look at what they're going through
Mhm.
and what they're willing to believe, because obviously, unfortunately, many of them have been duped to
Yeah.
come here,
Yeah.
promised things, given money, and unfortunately, our abilities and our infrastructure to handle the influx of population in America, should we be able to? We are the land of plenty,
Mhm.
you know, the home of the free and the brave. Unfortunately, the way that the systems are cooked and
Mhm.
are corrupted, whether it's education, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's our government,
Corporate
all
media.
across the board.
Mhm.
So here's something. I saw a statistic, Ryan, and you might have seen this too. Right now, the dependency upon the government through corporate America and so many other areas of business, it's at an all-time high. It used to be that you were an independent business person or your
Yeah.
company ran independently of the government.
Yeah.
The government worked for you.
Mhm.
You didn't work for the government.
Right.
Unfortunately, more people are working indirectly for the government now than
Yeah.
ever before in the history of our nation, which is the reason why I believe that people, it's so hard to contact people. You and I, once again, we're whistling through the graveyard, and this is the old
Yep.
saying goes, we're going out. We're getting the fear from people like the gentleman who wanted to challenge you when you were going to his door that you should have a permit to come into his door, and all you want to do is talk to him
Yeah.
about
It
his
was
life.
just a conversation. I didn't say
Yeah.
anything I was gonna say. I said, "Do you have a moment for a conversation?" And I said, in fact, I said, "Do you have a moment to answer a couple questions?" You know, essentially like a survey, a short survey. And he's like, "No, you
Yeah.
got to have a permit." I wasn't selling anything.
Yeah.
Just asking a conversation.
You know, I just
Yeah.
have a question. You know, I'm curious. I'm out. I'm just kind
Yeah.
of
That
meeting
doesn't
my
require a
neighbors,
permit.
and
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that we're kind of like-minded here. We live in
Yeah.
a small community.
Yep.
You know, you're my neighbor. I see you. I know you. In fact,
Yeah.
we might even work together.
Mhm.
I just want to know where you're at. But why
Yeah.
are people so deathly afraid of
Mhm.
having those conversations?
Yeah.
Because they have seen what has happened. And I think a lot of them know. If they're willing to put that person in jail, if they're willing to debank that person,
Yep.
deface that person, undermine that person, show up at their door with the FBI, and by no means do I welcome, you know, say that you should be welcoming of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, especially in the state of its agency right now. It's been weaponized
Yeah.
by the Department of Justice and everything else through the Biden regime. I don't know, I'm not welcoming, but you can't be fearful. We can't live our lives in fear.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that's the plight that is in front of us as activists. We can't get enough people to the polling booth, no matter what number you set for yourself. And we need big numbers, that's for sure. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I think I've got my shared screen here. I'm gonna get there. Oh, there
Mhm.
it is. I'm gonna get it on here. Hold on. It's coming. It's coming. I gotta find it here. Okay, add to stage. There it is. your official Trump, don't mind the price. It's not $24. That's if you were buying it from the Trump campaign, you might have to pay $24. See, I'm going to give you that same exact sign. Well, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to ask that you give me a donation of $10 for the cause here in Central Illinois, so we can get more people involved in the process of getting out there and encouraging people to put a sign in their yard. The first step in recovering as a country is being willing to have conversations and to promote the common good. And I believe that wholeheartedly President Trump represents common sense and the common good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we know that to be the case because they want to imprison him.
Yeah.
Political prisoner.
Absolutely.
And so that's how we can start. Contact me, the DPB show, at the DPB show, the Ryan Mack show.
Yep.
Ryan knows how to get those signs. $10 for a yard sign.
Gridley peeps, I will deliver them.
Yeah, he will
Let him know.
personally deliver one to your door, and as long as you don't ask him for a solicitation.
Yeah,
permit.
yeah.
But $75 donation for a 4x4. If you know any farmers, you know people who have businesses outside of course, the town of Normal, which is now, for the most part, it's a lost cause.
Yeah, I remember when that went into place, and I couldn't believe that they actually have that in place.
It shows you what
no signs,
not government of, by, and for the people. It's that there's nothing in the town of Normal.
I'll tell you what you can put up in your yard.
That's right. I'm going to dictate to you. It's a dictatorship. It's and it's not even a benevolent dictatorship. It's a flat out dictatorship, driven by people who don't want dissenting opinions. We had a council member in Normal, Stan Nord, who constantly was pointing out the deficiencies and the corruption and the brokenness.
And they hated him for it.
Oh, they did. And if they couldn't get around the law, they would circumvent it, and they would use people like Sharon Chung and Dave Kaler to write new laws to protect them from being outside of the law.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you call that.
Well, the airport issue that her and Dave Kaler had a hand in, the airport tax issue. I understand that majority of the people in the county, well, not maybe majority, but a small number of people use that airport. But shouldn't it have been more of a localized issue rather than a county issue for tax increases for the airport? I mean, it is in Bloomington Normal area. Yes, there are people in the county, but there's people all over the state that use
that's common sense. But they're going for the money. As you know, in the immortal words right behind me. Oh, there it is. Let me pull that book out right here. There it is. What does that say?
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Yep.
Get this book. I'm taking this one home with me because I've been meaning to read that first chapter. I think the first chapter is Insane in Ukraine. And I need to go back. There it is. Chapter 1, Insane in Ukraine. And my wife hits upon the point, Ryan. Thank you.
Yep.
Anya, for bringing this to the stage. Corrupt politics is what brought those third world countries to where they are. Liberia used to be a booming country.
Yeah.
Argentina. And now with the new populist president, Milei, did I say his name right?
Look at the other side of that. When people have had it bad enough, look what happens when they actually stand up. Look what happened in France. They had an overwhelming rejection of Macron and the socialist movement. They were done. He's screaming, crying, kicking, clawing his face out for more elections because he lost and got hammered by a more conservative government for the EU. And he's calling for more elections because he doesn't like the results. It takes a whole village of people to turn over the tyranny and the government. You have to get out and move. You can't just complain about it if you don't vote.
Just let's always remember here, I'm going to hide my wife's comment.
Mm-hmm.
They are not after me. They're after you. I'm just standing in the way.
Yep.
Folks, Donald J. Trump and his family have sacrificed their lives, his fortunes. I don't know if you heard the latest one, Ryan, but now they're trying to remove his liquor license from his casinos and his
The New
hotels.
Jersey Democrats.
I mean, they're literally trying to
they're gonna crush him.
surgically remove this man.
He has taken arrow after arrow, bullet after bullet, and he continues to stand tall on that mountain.
Yeah.
And he's flawed. All of our founders were flawed individuals, but they stood for something greater than themselves. He has lost billions of dollars of his wealth and his name and name likeness because of this cause. He could have easily retired and kept working in his company and gone off in the sunset.
He could be like that gal. He could be like that guy from Caliper.
Yeah,
that
he doesn't
Matt
need
Gaetz
this.
was questioning. He could be sitting back. That guy, I am certain, if you went to wherever he lives, it is a posh place.
Oh yeah.
He's got everything at his disposal.
Yep.
He doesn't need to play the game.
No.
Thankfully, we have Donald J. Trump, who's willing to stand in the gap, and the gap is big. The blob, the deep state, is huge. If it wasn't for Donald Trump shining a light on both the Republican parties and the Democrat parties and the entire corrupt system on the global scale, the World Economic Forum, every avenue in every area, if it was not for Donald J. Trump, can you only imagine where we would be? There's a reason why they had to steal and rig the election in 2020.
Speaking of
go ahead.
blobs, this is a blob standing on our way.
This is a blob. Oh, look at this.
Fatties against fascism. If you ever think that you have it so bad and you're oppressed as a nation, just remember, it could be worse. It could be blobs in your way.
Did you take that away that quickly?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a bunch of middle fingers, and there were a bunch of people who obviously have no problem eating the double Domino's pizzas, and not there's anything wrong with the double Domino's, but
blobs, so I just thought I was going to mention that there's blobs in our way, the deep state.
Fatties against fatties for fascist, or fatties against
fatties against fascism.
Fatties against fascism. Oh my gosh. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, at least they're against fascism.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously it takes all of us, I obviously encourage people from a healthy perspective to eat better, to live better. I know it's easier said than done, but thanks for sharing that. All right, Ryan,
on a light note,
here we go. This is the last show that we will be doing until next week, and in the interim, I am going to be the father of the bride. So I can't end the show without giving a shout out to my daughter Hannah and Jimmy as they prepare for their wedding at the Hesed House. It happens to be actually run and owned by Desi Anderson and her husband Nick. Desi Anderson for state rep. That's who I am getting behind. Obviously, who in their right mind would want to vote for a socialist, communist, Marxist in Sharon Chung?
Yep.
I got to tell you this story before we go off air. Hannah's precious. Obviously, she's constantly monitoring the Hunter Biden thing, the Donald Trump hearing. But we were receiving these wonderful signs the other day at the Republican headquarters, and the trailer pulled in, and I think I might have shared this on Tuesday, but I'm going to go ahead and reiterate it. If I shared it, okay, you're hearing it for another time. But the trailer that was being pulled by this pickup truck, both the pickup and the trailer had images of Donald J. Trump on them, the vehicle wrap. And it said on the trailer, "The best president ever." Well, it happens to be that the lots between the Republican headquarters and the Illinois Education Association share a similar lot. The head of the union was getting out of his car as this is parked in there, and I'm offloading thousands of Donald Trump signs.
Yes.
And this guy is visibly shaking. I mean, almost you could sense that he was about ready to blow a gasket,
Good.
shaking his head. I'm sure he went inside and he started taking pictures and he was monitoring. He probably called Mark Zuckerberg and Klaus Schwab and the Biden regime and Merrick Garland.
A place to be more
and
visible is the county party than right in front of the the Illinois NEA.
this is kind of, I think this is going to be similar to Watergate. We're going to have special security around the Republican headquarters now because these people are going to try stealing our signs. We already know that. Okay. I have to put this out there as a disclaimer. If you put a Donald Trump sign out in your yard, there's a good chance that it's going to be stolen or vandalized.
Put a little,
but you know what? Just reload.
Yep.
Next man up.
We
all have to prepare to do the job of next man up. That's where I stand. Once again, daughter's wedding this weekend. I can't wait for Tuesday's show because this thing is building speed, building momentum, but it only is going to build the momentum that is needed to overcome this true regime, this banana republic that has been formed in Washington, D.C. by you and I getting out there. As Ryan said, 10, 20, 30 people. I don't care how many you talk to.
Yep.
It has to be more than just you. And you have to ask questions. You have to find out if they're registered to vote. You know, one of the best stories is shared by my friend Darren Bailey. He said over and over, I ran into people after the election who said, you know, Darren, gosh, I wish you would have won. And Darren quickly was, sharp enough to say, did you vote? And he was shocked at how many people were willing to say, I wish you would have won, but yet they themselves did not go and participate in voting and were willing to admit it to the man who pledged his life, his fortune, and his sacred honor. This is what people are sacrificing. Desi Anderson is sacrificing all those things for the sake of our country and our Constitution right here. I don't know. It's no different than D-Day. We've got to put it on the line. There isn't November 6th without Donald Trump. This country will never be the same ever again. All right, Ryan. I appreciate you as always.
Absolutely.
And you're awesome. Appreciate those that join us. Don't forget, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 to 5, live here in studio at the DPB show. Don't forget Ryan Mack. You can always catch Ryan Mack at YouTube, the Ryan Mack Show. I love you. Jesus loves you more. And until next week, I bid you farewell. If I can get up to the end of the stream, sometimes I can't get started and I can't end the stream. There we go.